First on the list is the Tractor Supplies bucket. This one is kind of boring white, but that doesn't matter if the bucket was good, which it is not. I put it in the D tier.
Next is the Chick-fil-A bucket. You may think this is one that they would put their delectable chickens in, but it is not. This is purely a utility bucket, and I appreciate that. But it's no Home Depot bucket, but I'll get to that later. This bucket goes in C tier.
Yes, a true value bucket. True to the name of true value, this bucket is a true value, as in it's pretty okay for the price. I think I'd give this one a B tier.
The Home Depot bucket. This is a truly extravagant bucket. It can hold so much fluid and resist so much battery. This is an S tier bucket.
Next is the Value House bucket. The Value House on it is pretty cute, but it doesn't do anything to sway me on how much of a good bucket I think it is. After all, if it don't hold my lard good, I don't give a damn what's on the front. This is an F tier bucket.
So we arrive at the Walmart bucket, and I have got to say, this is just a truly atrocious bucket. For how much it costs to purchase, it can't even hold water, and that's an F tier bucket.
The Texas bucket. Now, I'm not a fan of Texas as a state, but I will not let that factor in to my ranking of this bucket as a bucket. This bucket is pretty damn good if you ignore the insignia on the front. I give it a solid B tier.
Next is the St. Petersburg Rams bucket. With a beautiful ram on front and a purpley finish, it's pretty good. But I don't know if they know how to make a bucket as dang well as they can pass the pigskin. So I'd give it a B tier, at best.
Okay, the Wilco bucket. This one's... I gotta think about this one for a second. No, I don't. I say the Wilco bucket is a C tier. It's very average. And that's all I have to say about this shit tier bucket.
Next up is the Cracked Fishing Bucket. I don't know why they call it this, but as it shows on the front, this bucket is pretty darn good at holding worms. I'd say that this bucket could hold up to thousands of worms. Could be more though. I give it a D tier.
Next is the America bucket. Makes me throb with patriotism every time I look at it. But it only holds things alright. I give it a C tier bucket.
The 84 lumber bucket. Now I have some things to say about this bucket. It would be a lot better of a bucket if it was the 85 lumber bucket, because that's a lot more lumber that I can hold in the bucket. But as it stands, it's pretty okay, but not okay enough. D tier.
The World Series Championship bucket. Now this bucket is pretty damn good. I've used this bucket for many a baseball and other. I give it an A tier. Not much to be said, it's just a good bucket all around.
Kmart bucket is a classic, a vintage even, a true collectible staple of the bucket world. You can't get beauties made like this anymore, but where its age comes, so does its deterioration. So does it have the might it needs to hold as much as you needs? I don't know. I can't get my dang hands on one of these buckets. So I give it a C tier.
The log builder's bucket. You see, the only thing I've used this bucket for is laying my logs in it. But it does pretty good at that, so I'll give it a B tier.
The Sherman-Williams bucket. Now, I don't know why the hell, I don't know who the hell Sherman-Williams is. I don't know why the hell they named it after him, but god damn it, that man can bucket. This is an A tier. It would be S if Sherman-Williams was still alive.
Next is the Petco bucket. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about this bucket. Do I put my pets in it? Maybe there's already one in it. I don't know what I can put in, like maybe all my manly lumber and stuff in that bucket if there's a pet in there. Would I hurt him? There aren't even air holes in that bucket. This is a D tier bucket. I'm unsure what to do with it. I'd rather have another one.
The breast cancer bucket. Now, I have a word to say about people who support breast cancer because it's a debilitating illness, and I cannot support a bucket that supports this illness, so this is an F tier bucket for sure.
The pumpkin bucket. Now, I don't know if you've ever been trick-or-treating, but if you have, you know this bucket is full of shit. This bucket can hardly hold a single candy bar, much less my billions that I earn on Halloween nights. Eves. So, I'd say it borders the line of not a bucket in F, ultimately landing in F, because it is a bucket at the end of the day.
Next is the Corona bucket. Now, I don't want to bring up current events, but this is about the bucket. And when I talk about this bucket, I think, what can I put in this bucket? Its carrying capacity is so dang low, and that friggin' handle is so thin. When I hold up all the stuff in it, like a beer that goes in it, it wears on my pingies and makes a little ring on my pingies. I don't like it much at all, mostly because I can't carry much in it. This is a D tier bucket.
The fire bucket. Now, I have a bit of a story with this bucket. You see, I bought this bucket thinking it would hold fire, and when I went to my bonfire, all it did was emit plastic fumes at me. And this bucket does not work as advertised. It can't hold fire. F tier bucket.
Now, I've tried the Chemical Guy's bucket. I've gotta say, it's a pretty good bucket, but it does not hold chemicals like it says. When I tried to put my chemicals of sorts in this Chemical Guy's buckets, let's just say I burnt my arms off and it hurt. I'd give it a C.
Next is the Ace Hardware bucket. Now, these are some guys who know how to make a dang bucket. I can put so much friggin' hardware in this bucket of so many different varieties. Look at that broom. That's such a wide broom. I can put anything of any width I want in there. So much capacity for carrying and opportunity for carrying. This is an A tier bucket, only middled by how small the ace is on the front. If it was bigger, I think it would be cooler and maybe hold more. Maybe.
The KFC bucket. Now, this might be a controversial decision, but I have to say, I think the KFC bucket is a solid D tier bucket. Now you might say, this bucket can't hold shit but chicken, and I have to agree with you. But the way it holds chicken is so damn good, I can't put it any lower. I have to respect it.
Next up is the McGuire's bucket. I like this bucket a lot. Now, as you can tell, it's very short and stocky and squished all within, but with its tiny stature comes the ability to hold many tiny things, and there's not many buckets that fit this niche, so I give it a B's tier upon.
Next is the bucket hat bucket. I don't know what to think about this bucket. I'm just kidding. I know exactly what to think about this bucket. When I put my water in this bucket, it leaks right the frickin' crap through. And then I put my industrial goop in this bucket, and then it makes the bucket all goopy. And then it's like meant to be put on your head, like someone told me. But how am I supposed to put the darn thing on my head when it's full of industrial goop? It's all wet. I'm not gonna do that. This is an F-tier bucket. It don't even work.
The Yeti bucket. Now this is a good bucket. It's really dense and really just durable. I could swing this bucket around all over the place and I could smash it into walls and stuff, and it doesn't even dent, man. That's an A-tier bucket if I've ever seen one.
Next up is the toilet bucket. This bucket is disgusting. It's only meant to hold poop and feces and human secretion. Gross. Now, if this were just a bucket without the lid, I'd honestly give it a much higher rating. It would be able to store more and be more practical. But as it stands, this is an F-tier bucket.
What brand is that bucket?
That is the oatmeal bucket.
Oh, the oats bucket!
Yes.
The oats bucket. There's
the
a lot.
oats bucket.
There's a lot in that bucket. I can put my oats in it. That's for sure.
It's
full labeled that way. But what else can I put in it? Maybe it's already full of oats. I can't ruin my oats by throwing screw and nut in there. Those have oil of grease on them. I wouldn't want to ruin my oats with those in there. Then I'd jump on them and hurt my titties. I give it an A-tier bucket.
The Nutella bucket. Now, personally, I bought this bucket to put my screws in. But when I opened up the damn bucket, there was poop in it. And I can't use that to put my screws in. So that's the D-tier bucket.
Now this is the Vinter's Best bucket. The title, of course, is a lie. This is the worst bucket. This is not a bucket. This is Vinter's worst bucket. I'm just kidding. It's a fine bucket. It's like C. It's all right.
Next is the Puffin bucket. Now this doesn't sound very serious or manly, but I think maybe I shouldn't judge. And then I look at it, but it doesn't look very serious or manly. It's all rubbery and flexy and rubbery. I don't know what I can do with that. What if I put my manly metals in there and it cuts right through? My confidence wouldn't even fit in this bucket because it's too heavy, but with other buckets, not for this bucket. So if I put the confidence of another bucket in this bucket, it wouldn't hold it. It would be too heavy and probably fall through. So I'd give it a D-tier bucket.
This bucket, the yellow bucket. It's okay. I don't got much to say about this one. I put my oil in it and it holds it well. That's a C-tier bucket.
What the hell bucket is this? I've never seen this bucket in my life. What's that? I cannot say that this is a good bucket, in full honesty, because this bucket doesn't even look good. Much less is it probably good if I had bothered to try it or have cared. This is an F-tier shit.
That's the True Value bucket!
No. That is the worst bucket.
That's not the True Value bucket.
Yeah.
This is the Frabil Sittin' Fish bucket. This is a much better bucket. I can sit, I can fish. I like doing both. Sitting particularly on bucket. It is big enough and lumberly enough to hold my fun ass while I sit and I fish. And once I catch the fish of my ire, I let it off the hook straight into the bucket. and it holds it just fine. I don't know if I can put my contaminated metals within. That's why I'll give it only an A.
The Paw Patrol bucket. I gave this bucket to my son, and it broke in 2 minutes. This bucket, D tier. The only reason it's not F tier is because it is not mean against breast cancer, and there's no poop in it. So it's a D tier bucket.
Next up is the iStock bucket. Now, true to its name, this bucket does stock quite a lot within. I put nuts in there. I put bolts in there. I even put nuts and bolts in there. And it held all of them without fail. However, it lacks a lid. B tier.
This is the Evangelion bucket. I don't know if that's a real word, but I'm told that's what the bucket is. It looks like it has half a Canadian flag on it, but it's black, so I think it means business. It could probably hold something that isn't very safe. And that's pretty dang manly if you ask me. That's a B-tier bucket.
The bucket of sand. Now, it's not often that I need to haul around sand, but when I do, this bucket comes in handy. I'd give that a B tier.
Next up is the Bud Light bucket. Now, this is by no means a good bucket. The Corona bucket. That's a D tier. That's tiny, it had a handle, and it is small and has a handle. This one is just as small, but has no handle. This is an F tier garbage bucket that I only fill with garbage because I hate it.
Next is the ergonomic bucket. This is an interesting bucket that thinks outside the box by being a box. Now, as ergonomic as it says it is, it really friggin' isn't, man. When I walk around, I slap my dang knee on that bucket because it's got an edge on it instead of a circular bucket type bucket. And that just ain't ergonomic at all. I don't like it. I don't like it much, especially when I haul my heavy fruits and berries inside. Then I bash my knees upon it and it hurts a lot. I give it a D tier bucket. It wouldn't be F had it not been looking kinda cool.
The hammer bucket. I can only put my hammers in there. But I got quite, as a working man, as a working American, I got a lot of hammers, and I put my hammers in that bucket, and it's pretty good. I wish I could put more things in that bucket, but it's a C tier.
Now this bucket has a funny face on it, and in my opinion, that really brightens my day every time I use this bucket. However, it is small and useless and honestly a piece of work. However, I can fill it with some things, so I guess it's a C tier bucket.
Next is the Do It Best bucket. Now I thought it would do it best initially, so I was excited. But then I looked a little closer and I noticed, hey, that's kind of a short bucket. Now it was built fine, the craftsmanship of handmade bucket is as you might expect, but it just don't dang do it best if it can't hold as many liquid fluid ounces of hot steamy liquid as well as the other bucket. So it goes to B tier. Except I lied, because it lied to me. That makes it C tier.
Now this bucket's got a funny critter on it, and I love funny critters. So I put that bucket on C tier because it makes me laugh every time I see it, but it's got a hole in it, and I can't use it as a bucket if it got a hole in it.
Now, okay, this is the Pep Boys bucket. There's really nothing else to say, so I'm just gonna put it at a B tier. I think that's reasonable and fair. Next up is the Pep Boys bucket. This bucket has a lot of pep to it. I give it a B. B for Bep. B for boys. The P is for pep.
Next is the Gromit bucket from Wallace and Gromit. This is a highly impractical bucket. On my first day on the work site when I brought this bucket, everyone laughed at me. I felt so embarrassed I couldn't show my face there ever again. And I had to cuddle up with my grommet bucket at night just to get through it. Despite that, it did come with a pretty cool claw arm and a fine-tasting 10-piece nugget from Burger King when I got the bucket. So I'll give it a B tier.
Okay, now this next bucket has a special place in my heart because it inspired me to read more often. If you could look at that bucket, it says, readers make believers. And that's so true. I can't help but give this bucket an A tier for changing my life.
Now this is some sort of military grade bucket, and honestly, that would be very impressive. Did it not look more like a potted plant pot? This is crap. What am I supposed to put in this bucket? What is the point in armoring my bucket so if it can't even hold a water in it? F tier.
This is the air conditioner bucket, a feat of human ingenuity. This bucket can be transformed into its current state that it is already in state, and is already an air conditioning bucket. Just fill it up with water, which it can do, and then it spew onto you. The air conditioning bucket makes you pretty cool, with the cool air and water in the bucket. But I can't put my dang nuts in there or else they'll sink and I can't grab them back. So it's a B tier.
The Gatorade bucket. Now, I'm a firm believer that water is bullshit, and Gatorade is the real way to hydrate. So this bucket's an A tier just for that alone. However, I can't hold shit in that bucket, but the Gatorade I can hold in that bucket far outweighs anything else. The water's bullshit, not the Gatorade. You can put that on A tier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, this is Lord Buckethead from the movie Gremloids. Now that was quite the movie, but that does not matter. What matters now is the shape of the buccular device upon this character's head. Now, this bucket is tall and it is lean. Now, if I had this bucket in real life, it would make it quite useful for many purposes. I don't know what I would put in there. Maybe long poles of rebar that I could use for building things A tier.
Now this is the NXT Cool Zone roofing bucket. Now this is a pretty good bucket at a certain point in its life, but keep in mind that when you get it, you get roofing material pre-installed inside the bucket. Now this is a pretty manly thing to have, and then I can go up shirtless onto my roof, and all my neighbors can watch me work on my roof. So my roof can be better than all my neighbors' roofs. And by the time I'm friggin' done, I get a free bucket. Now how frickin' crap cool is that? But it can't hold water out of it, with which to chug and pour on my body to look hot when I don't have a shirt on, because it has toxic roof coating coolant in it already. So it goes to A tier only.
Okay, the Bass Pro Shop bucket. This one has a lot of sentimental value because I went to the pyramid down in Memphis before it was flipped over, and I got this bucket. And it's a collector's piece, and that much is true. However, this bucket is also amazing for holding all kinds of tools, nuts, bolts, all that shit. I give this an A tier bucket.
Alright, okay. This is the Cabela's bucket. There is nothing manlier than having a Cabela's bucket, which you can full of all of the ammunitions to my guns I have, and then use upon the little creatures when I hunt them, and eat them, and turn them to meat. So I give it an A tier. I would be giving it an S tier, but it has not earned an S tier because, honestly, it can't hold the guns.
Next is the legendary Lowe's bucket. Lowe's is known across the planet for their craftsmanship and multi-decade-long process of honing their bucketry. There is no one that makes a better dang bucket than this, I think, maybe. But it's hands down, uncontestable, an S-tier bucket. This is one of the finest made buckets out and around there, out there, from Lowe's, at least.
Okay, so this next bucket. The first time I held this bucket, I knew my life would never be better without this bucket. I could not live without this bucket. It is so well crafted. It's got a wide rim, its handle. It's perfect. This bucket is perfection in every aspect. And nothing can outdo it personally, so that's an S-tier bucket.
Now this is the Orchard bucket. This bucket is lean, mean, and smells like ween. I hate this bucket. I bought it once and it smelled like a wiener. And I will never use it again. I actually threw it in my garbage only to realize that because it is a bucket, it nearly became the garbage can itself. So then I burned it in a big fire and will not be buying one again. Anyways, this concludes our top 10 bucket list. We will now proceed to test the top 3 rigorously, in a manner of all sorts of manners.
Stay tuned, and you'll know what the best damn bucket is, I friggin' swear it.